Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It is Laura Whittle and today we are starting the Halloween series for 2021. I've got a theme. We're doing mythical creatures and the first one up is a Cyclops. So the prosthetics came pre-painted for the face, the ears came blank and I painted them and I changed the eye on the face one because I wasn't a fan of how it came. If you want to see me transform into a Cyclops, you want to know how to transform into a Cyclops and apply prosthetics, please keep watching. If you don't already, please subscribe to my channel, hit the thumbs up notification and hit the bell to be told every single time that I upload. And yeah, number 1 of 7 for 2021. Let's go. The first thing I'm doing is using IPA mixed with water on a cotton bud to start removing the red eye colour because I don't want a red eye. If I'm struggling to remove it, I'm going to try acetone, but I only want to work lightly because I don't want the latex to start dissolving or anything itself. And then I'm going to repaint the red area with blue. After removing a lot of the red, I used the Mistair Aqua Bodypaint in white, fill in the entire iris colour first and allowed that to dry, and then went over with the Mistair in blue. I used nail art brushes to do this, and then I went over the entire eyeball area in the white because I didn't really like the yellow tone, and then I went back over with a cotton bud with some IPA mixture on, and just use a pointed cotton bud to just go over some of the red into the eye so it looks a bit more like angry, but it looks cleaner. A few light spots in just to make it look more 3D. But that is the blue eye complete. So yeah, I'm going to allow it to dry now and then I'll probably spray it with something after. The first shade I went in with is this one. I think it's a 0 and that is it mixed with isopropyl and it's been thinned down. I'm going to add in some yellow tones now, which is Horrible from the Autopsy palette. Get these yellowish tones through the ears, and then I'm going to have to mix in some other shades to get the skin texture and shading I want. I built up layers of colour using Horrible, Sandman and Brown Bread. I used Indian Pale Mail to highlight some of the areas, and then I went back over with these two brown shades on an Essentials by Samantha Helen brush to do the effects like this, to add speckle detailing in to give it that more fleshy yellow tone effect. So you can see the undertone of this is very yellow. I've managed to get the same achievement with this. And then I'm just adding in the brown mucky tones. And then I'm going to add some extra shading here. So these are the ears done. I just need to cut them out. They've got some of the bone shade flicked onto them as well. Just add a bit of little light highlights. And this is it with the face prosthetic, so they're quite similar in tone and colour, so I think I did a good job on that.
So now all the prosthetics are painted, I am now going to apply them. So I've placed a wig cap over my hair and I'm applying Vaseline around any of the excess hair on the side of my face and over my eyebrows so any adhesive doesn't stick to it and pull that hair out later on. I'm getting the demon ears out from WoochieFX and I'm just going to open up and make sure they are sitting nicely, make sure what angle I want to put them on as before I apply it with Prosthetic. I'm now applying Prosthetic to the ears, then placing the demon ears prosthetic over the top of my actual ear. Because I'm not leaving the house, this is purely for photographic, I don't mind that the cotton wool is on show, but if I was going to be applying this for a job, it would be all tucked in at the back by a second helper. I'm now applying the Prosthetic along the free edges on the side of my face and holding it in place until it begins to set. I'm then going to take some toilet tissue and apply one ply at a time in ripped pieces just to that edge to attach it to the skin securely, and create a flat, seamless blend onto the skin. Just going to do a few layers of this, Prosthetic tissue, until it is all covered and well stuck to the face and ear. And then you'll colour these later when you apply all the other prosthetics. And now I'm doing the same on the other ear, repeating the exact same steps. Always remember to stay hydrated. As you can tell, I've got a sore throat, and that is a hot squash. I'm now taking the Autopsy palette by Mr. Dashbo and a Kryolan palette, and using one of the shades from the Dashbo palette. It's shade Horrible, with a paintbrush all over the face. In that spray bottle, I have a mixture of isopropyl alcohol and water, just isopropyl alcohol on its own, to activate these paints, and then I'm using a sponge with IPA on to blend out any like patchy areas. I'm just checking the coloration of what I need to apply for the chin prosthetic, and going in with some of the other shades. The shades I'm using are the exact same shades I used to paint the ear prosthetics earlier on. So I'm just going over with a mixture of these and getting a base colour, slowly making the face darker to match what colour the face prosthetics will be, and ensuring I'm going over those tissued areas too to blend in the ears with the face. Whenever it's streaky, I go back over the sponge with IPA on to blend that out. I'm now using the Nye Spirit Gum just to fix the ears into place even more, just so they don't move at all. I'm touching it to ensure it goes tacky before holding it in place to set it in. I'm using the end of a paintbrush to do this. I'm now taking the Prosthetic again and attaching that prosthetic. I decided that it wasn't fixed correctly, so I took it back off and added in some cotton wool balls into the prosthetic to make sure the shape stayed in place instead of it like moving and dinting. I pushed it into the horn and everything, and then reapplied. Showing I'm pressing all those edges down, applying more product where necessary. Ensuring they're as flat to the skin as possible. If you use the edge of a brush to roll out the edge of the prosthetic, it really does help get them flat. I'm now using the toothbrush from Samantha Helen's range, Essentials by Samantha Helen, and two of the dark brown shades from the Kryolan palette to splatter the shades all over the skin to create that mucky, dirty effect that these Cyclops had on these prosthetics. Then I'm going over some of the darker colours to blend that edge of that prosthetic into the skin. Taking it onto the prosthetic and my own skin to get that seamless blend, and then patting over it with a sponge. I'm using the normal sponge side for now, and then I'll switch to the stippling side later on. I'm just building layers of Horrible and some of the Kryolan tones to get the exact shading I want, and keep blending all that out until I'm happy with the colour. I'm now seeing what colour the face portion is compared to the actual tone of my skin. and lightening areas and darkening areas that I think is necessary. I'm now going back in with that toothbrush to add more speckled effects into the skin. I've now used the Kryolan Prosthetic to seal this into place, and I'm using the Spirit Gum from Nye to seal those three edges all the way around the face. This prosthetic is really difficult to see through. The holes weren't in the exact right place for me. I did take the mask back off at one point to put in cotton wool into the Cyclops eye area and forehead just to keep it popped out into the right shape. So bear this in mind if you are using these WoochieFX like prosthetics. I'm ensuring all the edges are really well stuck before going back in with more of the alcohol activated paints. So I'm going in with some of the brown shades to create wrinkles around the edge of the mouth and side of the nose to blend the edge of the prosthetic in. I'm then adding wrinkles around the side of that face mask as well and near to the chin to really hide those edges by adding texture. Across the top of the forehead into the hairline, I'm adding a solid brown colour. In between the dark lines, I'm adding horribile and bone meal to create highlighted lines so it looks like the skin is really wrinkled and folded. This creates the depth and highlighting you need to make it look more realistic. And then I'm adding some extra wrinkles on the nose so that the nose portion is also blended in. I'm now darkening the edges of that mask and going and deepening the wrinkles around that area too. Now deepening some of the crevices around the base of the horns on the chin prosthetic just to make it have more depth, and then I go back over it with some IPA on a sponge to blend that out in a little while. Going back in with a small brush to add more of the highlighty details between the wrinkles and make them pop. Again using like whitey yellow shades to create this. By creating texture you really do help to blend in the prosthetics into the face and you see less of the edges. You can also apply the paint directly onto the prosthetics too to help add more detailing onto that to help it blend into your actual skin. And I'm building layers of this, and whenever it's too bold I'll just tap it over with my finger and it all blends back together nicely. I'm now painting the lips, one of the dark brown shades, and ensuring that right at the centre of the bottom lip I have a strong dark line to make it look fuller. And I'm extending my lips slightly further out into the outer edges just to make them look more male dominated. You could apply a bald cap at the start of this design. I forgot to order one for this Halloween and to be honest I hate applying them on myself. So I chose to use a wig cap because most of the photos my head is tilted slightly back so you cannot tell what is going on with the top of my head anyway. And then going in with some more speckledy texture using that brush. And I'm applying that all down the neck as well, and onto the shoulders and the tops of my arms. So whatever the skin will be shown on the camera. Adding Horrible down the neck. And patting that out with the stippling edge of that sponge. And doing the same all over the arms. I'm also using some of the brown shades on the stippling edge of that sponge directly to get the right colour in. And to match it to the face. I wanted the body to look mucky, like it had been through fields and in dusty, dirty places, out in the sun without any skin protection. I'm just adding some darker tones around the collarbones to make them pop. And doing the same up into the neck creases as well. I'm adding more speckles again into the skin. I'm building layers up with this. I switch between Horrible, some of the whiter shades, like Bone Meal. I switch between the Kryolan and the Autopsy palette for this. Building up the colour until I'm happy with it. That was more Horrible being added to get that more yellow undertone, and then more darkness added and more IPA to blend it all together. It's all about layers and getting it the right colour. Then I'm using this stippling edge with the dark brown two tones from the Kryolan side to finally add in that extra layer of muckiness to the skin.
And this is the finished look. If you like this look, please subscribe to my channel by giving it a thumbs up and drop a comment on what you think my next look will be. And you can catch more from me over on Instagram at LauraWhistleMUA and on TikTok at LauraWhistleUK. Thank you, and I'll see you again for look number 2. Bye!